Hi, this is the sound tutor for Ask.Audio, and what I'm going to do here is show you how to hone in on a snare drum within a drum loop using PanShaper and create stereo widths to just that sound within the mix. This is the drum loop we're going to work with. Okay, so to begin with, we need to use the band split, and we'll solo this out and then pull in the low band and the high band, and once we've clicked into the middle band, we'll just hear that band. We need to focus in on where the higher frequencies, like the rattly part of the snare, exist within this this drum loop. Okay, so it's around about there, but what we can do is change the steepness of the crossover filters, and we should be able to hone in a bit more accurately to just that sound and have less of the ride cymbal coming in. So aside from a little bit of the slap or the snap, shall I say, of the kick drum, that's pretty much the snare's rattle on its own there, so that's what I want. So the next thing to do is to add in a modulation curve. So we can start off with a basic sine shape in there to begin with, and you should be able to hear that there's a general auto pan happening, in this case to over the course of one bar at a time between left and right speakers. Now I actually want to make the panning happen pretty rapidly, so I'm going to leave the actual beat function, even though I can use beats and I can go up to these higher rates of 128 for each bar if I want. I'd rather have a bit more of a fluid control over the rate of this auto pan, because I'm going to push it into the spectrum where it turns into an amplitude distortion as well as just being pan effect. So let's set this to hertz, and then as I kind of get above 40 hertz to 50 hertz, you'll start hearing that it stops being a discernible pan and turns into amplitude distortion. All the way up to the top of the range, where it's obviously quite audible, the distortion happening there. Now another way of achieving distortion, or a different type of distortion, is to change the actual shape of this curve. So if we go for something a lot more harsh and jagged, where the amplitude, or the pan, is moving, shall I say, between the left and the right speakers more rapidly, you'll immediately hear the overtones are different. We've got a lot more of a down sampling, bit crusher kind of effect going on there. We've got to be careful here though, because when it's at this full rate, even though it sounds quite nice, it's actually reduced the dynamic range of the sound a lot. So we're hearing a lot of the background sounds that previously were quite quiet. So we don't really want to bring those out too much. Smooth it off a little bit there. Okay, so that's in isolation, so you've got to be careful not to spend too long doing that. So let's unsolo it and listen to this in context with the rest of the drum beat. So without and with. Now we can change the actual amount of the effect being applied using the width control. So that sounds quite good. Okay, so now the same effect can be applied to the cymbals as well, just a quick demo. So let's pull this down to 0. Let's move to the cymbal section instead. Okay, and the same thing, drop it back into context, and then you can play with the width control to blend it as your tastes require. so that's how you can take a sound within a drum loop and use PanShaper to hone in using the band split, and then choose the actual stereo spread effect to your own taste and preferences.